All right, welcome to section 5.3, part 1, solving trig equations. We are going to be looking at the essential question, how does one solve trig equations using algebra? Okay, so algebra and trig identities. Well, this video is going to strictly talk about the algebra portion. So what did we use in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 that we can use to solve trig equations? Equations with sine, cosine, tangent in it, okay? Hopefully this joke makes sense. I'm sure most of you have seen this before. And this should make sense based on your identity. Sine divided by cosine is, all right, I'll leave that to you. So the next page is talking about the unit. It's just a picture of the unit circle. Some things to remember is, let's remember that sine is equal to y values. Cosine is equal to x. So, y, x. And remember that tangent is equal to y divided by x. Okay. And these numbers around the outside are all your sines and cosines, and the numbers on the inside are all your angles. Okay, that's all we have to, and we're going to refer back to this. This page, we've done this as well. We're going to look at what the signs of these are. Okay, so positive or negative. So sine deals with y. So y is positive in the first, positive in the second. So sine is positive on top and negative on the bottom. Cosine are x values. So x values are positive on the right and negative on the left. And remember, tangent is y divided by x. So positive divided by positive is a positive. Positive divided by negative is a negative. Negative divided by negative is a positive. And negative divided by positive is a negative. Okay, and we're going to need to refer back to these as well while we're solving these trig equations. All right, so when the equation has only one trig function, start by isolating that trig function. So get the trig function by itself. Okay, so we're going to do this just like we did in algebra. So we have an equal sign. We want to get the sign by itself. Okay, well, the whole number is already on the right, so I'm going to bring this 2 sine over to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 2 sine, subtract 2 sine. Okay, the 2 sines go away on the right. 4 sine, take away 2 is 2 sine of x, and that's equal to square root of 2. Okay, now I want to get the sine by itself, so I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. So this says sine of x is equal to root 2 over 2. Okay, now we're going to stop. Before we solve this, we're going to stop. This is telling us that sine is root 2 over 2. It's positive. It's not a negative, it's positive. So sine is positive in the first and the second. So what that tells us is we need 2 answers. We need one in the first quadrant, and we need one in the second quadrant. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to use a little cheat sheet here. Okay, so here is a first quadrant angle, and most of our angles will be in the first quadrant. To get a second quadrant, it's 180 minus your first quadrant angle. To get a third, it's 180 plus your first quadrant angle. And to get a fourth quadrant angle, it's 360 minus your first quadrant angle. And that will make more sense when we look at this example here. Okay, so what do we do from here? Well, we use our calculator. Okay, so I'm going to do second sine. Remember, we're looking for x. X is an angle. So to get angles, we hit second. So second sine, square root of 2, not tangent, 2 divided by 2. Okay, so that's what we're trying to figure out here. What is this? What angle x has a sine of root 2 over 2? So this will give us x equals. All right, so when I hit enter, it should give me a first quadrant angle, and there it does. It gives me a first quadrant angle. So our first quadrant angle for this is 45 degrees. Okay, now there is my first quadrant angle, 45. Now we also need a second quadrant because sine is also positive in the second. So to get a second, it's 180 minus your first quadrant angle. So my other x is going to be 180 minus 45, which is equal to, okay, I'm assuming everybody knows, let's say 180 minus 40 is 140, take away 5 more is 135 degrees. Now, the book might give you answers in radians, okay? You can convert these. I'm assuming you know how to convert these to radians, okay? So there's the first one. All right, now let's look at the second one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to isolate the sign. We only have 1 now. So I'm going to subtract 1, subtract 1. 4 sine squared equals 4 minus 1, which is 3. I'm going to divide by 4, divide by 4. So sine squared equals 3/4. I'm going to take the square root to get rid of the power of 2. So sine is equal to, anytime you take a square root, you have to do positive and negative. And then the root 3 I can't simplify, but what is the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is 2. Now this one's a little different, okay? This one wants answers for the positive and the negative. So where is sine positive and negative? Well, first, second, third, and fourth. Okay, so we need a whole bunch of angles here. All right, so let's find all 4. All right, so I'm going to do, oops. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to do second sine, because we're still doing sine. If it was a cosine problem, you do second cosine, root 3/2. Square root of 3 divided by 2. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. And our answer is 60 degrees. Okay, so, and I got rid of the x. I actually didn't put the x here. There's an x here. So x is equal to 60 degrees. There is my first quadrant angle. Okay, how do I find my second? It's 180 minus 60, which is 120. Okay, there's my second quadrant. Okay, now how do I find my third? It's 180 plus 60, which is 240 degrees. And how do I find my fourth? It's 360. Take away your first. So my answer is 300 degrees. Okay, so let's see if this is true. So our sine was root 3/2. Let's see if 60 degrees is a sine of root 3/2. 60 degrees sine is root 3/2. Then we also figured out that 120 had a sine of root 3/2. That's what we did. And now we also needed negative root 3/2. That was the other one we were looking for, 240. And then the other one was another negative root 3/2, 300. So 60, 120, 240, and 300. Those should have been our 4 answers. And were they? 60, 120, 240, 300. Perfect. Okay, now, a couple things. When you are solving sine or cosine, you need to go from 0 to 360 degrees, or 0 to 2 pi. So that's all the way around the full circle. Okay. When you're solving tangents, because of the restrictions, you only need to go from 0 to 180 degrees, or from 0 to 1 pi. So you only need to find, for this one you need to do 1 through 4 quads. And for tangents, you only need to do quadrant 1, 1, and 2. Okay, so that's the difference when we're doing tangents. So our last example involves a tangent. You do this the same way we did the other ones. Okay, we need to get the tangents by itself. So I'm going to subtract tan first, subtract tan first. Tangents go away on the right. 2 tangents take away 1 tangent is 1 tangent of x minus root 3 equals 0. Now I'm going to get this minus root 3 on the other side. So tangent of x, I'm going to add root 3. Add root 3. So to add root 3. Okay. So we are at the point where we need to determine what quadrants we're in. Okay. So where is tangent positive? Okay. Where is tangent positive? Tangent positive in the first and the third. Okay. So we need a first and we need a third. However, what did I just tell you that we need to look at? When we're solving tangents, we only need to go from 0 to 180 or 0 to pi. So when we're doing this tangent, we only need to look at for tangent either the first or the second. So we do not need a third. Okay, that's a nice little thing for tangent. So how do I get the answer now? Remember, second tangent, because we're doing tangent now, square root of 3. And I'm going to close my parenthesis, and it should give me an answer. There it is, 60. So 60 degrees. There's the angle that has a tangent of square root of 3. And we only need a first quadrant angle. We don't need to worry about the third. Okay, so there it is. Hopefully this is fairly easy for you. I will see you tomorrow.